Amen. Have a seat. Man, that's a good looking crowd right there. Yeah. How y'all doing today? That's okay. All right, anyway, hey, welcome to River Lake Church, the permanent location. We are so excited that you are here, whether it's your first time or you've been with us since day one, the original day one. Today is a special day. We started this movement, this church, because a small group of people got together about 4.5 years ago and said and asked the question, wouldn't it be incredible if one day there was a church that was just incredibly relevant and simple and real. There was no hypocrisy. There was no kind of confusion, that the pastor didn't know what he was talking about, so couldn't use big words, that it was just as clear and it applied to our lives. It was just as relevant, simple, real. We asked the question, wouldn't it be incredible if one day we could create a church like that? And that small group of people started to pray and build, and we started in a restaurant, Mildred's restaurant, MJK, who is over there. And Mildred, I love you. Thank you so much. Yes. We moved to Ralphie's Fun Center, and that was an adventure for sure. It was great being there. It was such an incredible thing, and we grew and grew, and we just kept asking the question, one day, wouldn't it be incredible if we take the next step? One day. And about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we started really making plans for this facility and said, man, one day, wouldn't it be incredible if we had our own place that we could, and here has been my vision, here has been my excitement, wouldn't it be incredible if we could just walk into a building and go, oh, it's done. That'd be great. Like, there is no pipe and drape. There is no setup. It's like, oh, lights work. That's incredible. Wouldn't that be awesome? One day, it's the little things when you don't have them. Trust me, okay? One day. And today, you've seen the shirts, hopefully. It's hard to miss them. That one day, for us as a church, just became day one. Amen. There you go. I want to pause for one more second, then we'll get on with the message. But I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for three specific people. And there are so many more. But two of them are our project managers. Philip Simpson. Is Philip here right now? Where is Philip at? There's Philip Simpson right there. And then also somebody who's become very near and dear to me, a big, burly, feels like he could take me at any moment if I say the wrong things, man, Mr. Sean Hale right there. Please give. The last person that I want to thank is really, I got to tell you, if it wasn't for her, I would not be here. If you know this church, you know that she really runs it, okay? Like, it's not me. Like, I get to stand up here and talk, but really all I can do is talk. My skill sets are maxed out after that, okay? So if I ever lose that, pray for me, okay? So I'm done. Jana Hoover makes this church run. We are so honored and blessed to be here, and really, I believe that we had a one day that just became a day one, and I'm excited about it. I'm going to pray, and we're going to jump into the message this morning. God, thank you for day ones. Thank you for all the day ones that are represented right here. Thank you for all the future day ones. Thank you for all the one days that are in this room, the dreams and the destinies that are in this moment. I pray that you would put a special blessing upon the next few moments as I speak and hopefully communicate your word the best way that I know how. I pray that lives would be changed, that trajectories would be different, that you would really move in this place. We love you and we thank you so much. Amen. Yeah. Well, hey, here's what I know about you, because it's true about me, that you have some one days. You have some one days. You have some moments in your life. Isn't it true that like you just really, whether they're verbal or not, that you believe, you know what, one day I'm going to lose weight. Anybody have that one day? Don't raise your hand. It was a joke. Okay, put your hands down, okay? It's not an interactive church. We're not like, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, no, one day I'm going to lose weight every year. It's one day I'm going to lose some weight. Or maybe you're younger, maybe you're in high school or whatever, and you've got some dreams. It's one day I'm going to be married, and we're going to cuddle, and it's going to be great. How many married people cuddled this week? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that didn't happen, okay? Yeah, we have unrealistic expectations of marriage. But maybe it's one day I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna get a great paying job and I'm gonna make a lot of money. And you went to college and you owe a lot of money, okay? You didn't make it, like the economy's not great, but you had a one day and those are kind of humorous, but what I know is in a very real way, all of us have some one days. All of us have different things and some are public and some are personal and private. One day, I hope to find somebody who loves me as much as I love them. That's a real one, probably. One day, I hope to find a job where I just feel completely fulfilled, and I feel like I'm contributing. Like I feel like maybe right now, some of you're here at a job, and you don't feel fulfilled. But one day you hope. One day you hope to get past the resentment and anger because of what's been done to you. If a one day. One day you hope to be financially successful. One day you hope to get ahead and not have to live paycheck to paycheck. One day you hope that your marriage is what you thought it would be. One day you hope to have kids or maybe you had kids and so your one day switch is like one day they will leave. I don't know what that is. I have 5 one day, okay? That's all I'm saying. I don't know what your one day is. What I know is everybody in here, whether serious or silly, you have some one days. You have some things in front of you that you secretly hope, God, whether you believe in God or not, but God, one day, wouldn't it be great? Today, I want us to look, if you've got a Bible, I want to encourage you to open up to Luke chapter 5. It's Luke chapter 5. It's a story, it's written in the Gospels, and if you're not quite sure and you don't have a Bible, we'll put it up on the screen for you, but you can just kind of split the Bible and go right, okay? It's a few books over. It's Luke chapter 5, and it starts in the Bible, it starts and Jesus is walking through some stuff, and I love how this starts. It starts off, Luke chapter 5, it says this, one day. One day, we're going to look at a story of a guy named Simon Peter. So if I call him Peter a little bit later, it says Simon. It's both, okay, I kind of know what I'm talking about. We're going to look at a story where all of a sudden, Simon randomly falls upon the thing that changed his life. Simon randomly comes upon, and it's a one-day moment for him. Much like you have one days, I'm not sure he ever kind of wanted this, but it happened to him. And one day it started, and it says one day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. And so if you can imagine there's a crowd similar to this. His was probably bigger because he's Jesus, but that's a different conversation. But they're crowding around him, and it's getting close. And if you've ever had a crowd mentality, just kind of get close. And I don't know about you, but I need my space, okay? So if you're a close talker, stay away from me, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Like, just some people walk like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I am fine, okay? If I'm ever doing this motion, back up, okay? And he is in this moment right then where people are starting to crowd around him, and they're walking through this, and it goes on. It says this, he, meaning Jesus, saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. And so they're on this shore, the crowd's crowding in, and here's what happens. I love this. He got into one of the boats, and one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Scene is this. It's a big crowd. Jesus is on the shore. There's a few boats over there. Simon, and we're going to find out a little bit later, James and John, the brothers, they're all partners. There's a big fishing crew. They're sitting there, and Jesus sees a boat. And he didn't ask if he could get into the boat. Jesus kind of hops into his boat, hops into his world. All of a sudden, Simon is the central character of a story that he never thought he would be. Some of you find yourself in that situation right now, that you're the central character in a narrative in a story that you never thought you would be. You're in the middle of something that you either want to or didn't want to be in, but you're the central character. This is where Simon finds him. Jesus jumps into this boat. And then he asks him to do something I believe he asks all of us to do. You read this, and it says he asked him to put out a little from the shore. Jesus looks at Simon and says, listen, Simon, come here. I need you to push out. I need you to create some space. I'm crowded. A lot of close talkers out there. They're freaking me out, okay? Get me out a little bit. I need you to push out a little bit. I need you to create me some space. I believe that's what Jesus asked all of us at some point in time. That really the initial call, the initial relationship really is to sit back and kind of ponder. And Jesus is asking you, and I believe today, will you create some space for him? Will you create some space so that he can kind of sit there and be present and speak? Because what I find is in our world, a lot of our one days are one day someday, but they don't really have space for God. And so today, for some of you, I really believe that God's asking, can you give me some space in your marriage? You're married and it's okay, or maybe it's not, but can you create some space? Can you create some space in your marriage and your relationships? Maybe for some of you, it's your finances. That really you're doing okay, or maybe you're here struggling. And you're walking through it. And the question that you need to answer today is in your finances, can you create some space? Can you create some space in your world, in your finances, what you do? Maybe it's in a problem that you've got. And you've been going to everybody else, and you've been on Facebook, and you've been on Twitter, and you've been griping and complaining and talking to everybody else, and can I have some help, and what do you think, and da-da-da-da. And maybe the question today is God's just asking you, hey, I see that problem. I see your world. Will you create some space for me? See, I think that's the problem with our world. That our schedules, our lives, our relationships, everything that we have around us, it's so full. It's so full. We literally have everything crowding around us. Maybe some of you here today, you feel that. You feel stress. You feel the financial pressure of everything crowding around you. You feel the drama of relationships that are broken and messed up, and it just kind of feels like everything is crowding around you. Maybe you have an addiction or a struggle, and it just feels like every single day there's this weight, there's this thing that's crowding around you, and the solution, the step, the initial thing that I believe we're all called to do, that Jesus asks of all of us, not demands. It's always an invitation. It's always a question. Will you create some space? That's really what I think all of us are called to do. In fact, here's how we sit, and here's why it's so important. That I believe that when you create space for God, you take a step towards growth. That the thing that you want to grow, the thing that you want to become a one day and become a day one, that thing, it will never probably get there until you start to create some space for God, until you start to kind of honor God with it, whatever that is. That your frustrations and your struggles and your tensions and your issues really have everything to do with you don't have time for that. Matter of fact, I say that all the time. I've got to stop that. Maybe you say that too. I don't have time for that. I'm so busy. I'm so crowded. I don't have leverage. I don't have the finances for that. I don't have the bandwidth for that. And it starts. You want to grow? It starts with you kind of pausing in your life, creating some space. Because at the end of the day, when you create space for God, you take a step towards growth. The story goes on, though, and I love this. It says this, then he sat down and taught the people for a while, taught the people from the boat. So here's what I want you to see. Here's what jumped out to me. Peter does this. He's like, okay, fine, I'll do this. He creates space for God, and then what happens? Nothing. Which will happen in your world, I promise. Let me just give you a heads up. This is where I think sometimes the church gets it wrong. This is where sometimes I get it wrong with my relationship with God, is I'll create space for God, and I'll be like, okay, God, go. Nothing happens. Okay, God, I came to church 2 weeks in a row. Where's my blessing? I was here 2 whole weeks. Like, that's a big deal. 2 weeks, God, I prayed. I prayed every day for 6 days. I studied my Bible once in junior high. I got to wipe some dust off. But I studied my Bible. God, where's the blessing? I created some space. But what we see in there is Peter creates a space, and Jesus goes back to what he was doing. He just goes back to teaching, goes back to talking, goes back to doing his deal. See, listen, a journey is not a moment. And what I feel like sometimes happens in our world is we want moments with God, not a journey with God. And you just need to understand that God's not quite interested in giving you moments. He's interested in walking with you in a journey. And when we confuse the two, when we sit back and we hop into God's world, say, listen, I need. Okay, God, I'm done. What happens is confusion, frustration, and we're left with a whole bunch of one days that never turn into day ones. The story goes on. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep water and let down the nets for a catch. He says, put it out, put it out. He goes deeper now. Same command. They're already out there. They're already pushed away. He kind of already created some space for God. And then it goes deeper. Jesus looks and says, no, I want more. I want to go deeper. And this is the tension. This is the first of two things, two reasons I want to give you that you don't create space for God. Two reasons you've not seen your day ones yet. Two things. Number one is this. We're going to put it up on the screen. We want new. God wants deeper. We want new. See, if you know the story, Peter, we read a few minutes ago, Peter had been fishing all night. He'd already been there. He'd already done that. He was tired. He was probably frustrated because he caught nothing. We're going to find out in a moment. He was tired, frustrated, empty, and he didn't want to, but at the end of the day, I'm sure he was looking and going, okay, God, I'll follow you. What do you want me to do new? What do you want me to do different? See, in our culture, isn't this the case? Man, I don't want to go deeper with my spouse that I don't necessarily love right now. I just like a new one. I don't want to go back to that job that I don't like and work really hard and get better at it and become recognized because of my effort and stuff like that. You know, it's just easier. I'll just quit it. I'll go get a new one. I'll go get new. And what we see in this passage is Jesus going, no. I'm going to call you back to what you're familiar with. I'm going to call you back into what I already told you. I'm going to call you back into what you just did. I need you to go back. But when you go back, I need you to go deeper. I need you to create some more space. One of the things I think happens in our walk with God, especially if you're here today and you'd say, yeah, I'm a Christian, is we create that initial space. And it's cool and it's good and we do that. And maybe you had a moment and you were excited and you're like, yeah, and you read your Bible and you prayed and the whole deal. But again, in the moment of relevant, simple, and real, I just need to be transparent and say, even in my own life, and I'll just share this, is, man, sometimes it can get stale, doesn't it? That and maybe pastors shouldn't admit this, I don't know. There are some days, if I'm being super honest, I don't necessarily want to read my Bible, okay? Maybe you're amazing. You get up at 4 o'clock every day and you read it for 4 hours. I don't know. I'm just being very transparent. Like there are days I'm like, no. And I get paid to be a Christian, okay? So that's even worse for me, all right? Like I'm a professional Christian. And I'm like, there's some days I'm like, It's tough. But what happens is that comes about. Not because God wants it, but because at some point we push out, we create the space for God, we create the momentum, and then we settle in this moment. We settle from where we're at. Some of you here today, you've been a Christian for a while right now. Maybe your faith is stagnant. Maybe you're coming back. Maybe you've been out of church for years. I don't know what it is. I want you to know if you feel that way, maybe it's because Jesus is calling you into deeper. Maybe it's because he's calling you to go back to that marriage that you don't want to go back to and go deeper with him. Don't find somebody new, but maybe grab them and start to pray with them, which will be awkward if you've never prayed with your spouse, okay? Let me just tell you right now, that first time I was like, it's weird. Maybe talk about the sermons on your way home. Maybe go deeper with them and start to invest in that instead of finding somebody new, instead of letting your mind go somewhere else. In your job, invest in your future, invest in your finances. Maybe God doesn't want you to give you more money because that's what we want. Like, I need more money. I need some new money. Just give me some new money. I don't even know where new money comes from, okay? But I just need some new money, whatever that is. And maybe what God's saying to you today is, no, I just need you to go deeper in your budget because you're wasting a whole bunch of money you don't even realize. Because you're spending so much money on fast food and McDonald's. You're spending so much money on things that distract you, things like Netflix and whatever, that there's nothing wrong with those things, but it's crazy for me how much parents especially complain at what technology and how much TV their kids watch and stuff like that. And I'm like, who bought it for them? Like, we have no money. See you on the golf course. Okay, yeah, sure. We're poor. See you at the gym. It's crazy. And the tension is, as long as we keep waiting for new, we'll never turn around and go deeper in what God's already called us to do. We do it all the time. In the church world, here's what people say. Man, I love this one. This is like a pet peeve of mine. People look at me and go, Nick, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Here's what hit me this week. When people say that in the church world, that they don't really mean deep. They think they do. They don't really mean deep. We have a problem of terms because when somebody says deeper, what they really are saying, I want something new. I want the pastor or the Bible, I want God to show me something new I've never seen before. I want a Hebrew word or a Greek word. I want it to confuse me. I want something new. I don't necessarily want to go deeper in what I already know. But if we're going to move forward in our walk, if we're going to go forward and we're going to flip this town upside down, we've got to be the kind of people, you've got to be the kind of people who go deeper with God. I mean, listen, let's be honest. The Bible doesn't change. I don't want it to. David kills Goliath every time. I don't want a version that's different. I don't want to read it one day and be like, oh, Goliath won this time. Like, I don't want that Bible, all right? It's the same story. It's the same. But here's the deal. You got to go deeper with it. You got to quit looking at it and going, I've read that before. No, just sit with it. Quit trying for new. Allow God to start to speak to you. I guarantee you, Simon is sitting back thinking, I was already out there. He goes on now. Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught a thing. But, see, the first sentence is about how he feels. The first sentence is about a state of mind. It's about where he's at mentally. It's about where he's at emotionally. Because I said he's tired, he's exhausted, he's frustrated, he feels empty because he is empty. The boat's empty. It's about how he feels. But there is a massive, big, beautiful but in there. Take that however you want. Anyway. I love our church. Come on, let's be honest. Okay. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. Don't miss this. Simon has a different authority in his life than his feelings. And in a culture that's all about our feelings, I feel offended. So I got to say something. No, shut up. You don't have to respond to every text message. You don't have to respond to every post. You don't have to respond to every Facebook thing. No. I feel hurt. I feel upset. I feel wronged. I don't feel like going to the gym. Has anybody ever woke up and thought, gym time? Liars. Anyway, somebody put their hand up. I was like, no. You wake up and you're like, oh, no. But we're such a culture, it's all about our feelings. I have had people, I've done so much where they walk away from a marriage. Why? Because of how they felt. Nick, I don't feel in love with them anymore. I don't care. That's not really, your feelings fail you all the time. I felt like eating a whole cheesecake a couple days ago. It was a bad feeling, okay? Just saying, you've had those moments. Every one of us have had feelings that we look back on and go, that was a bad decision directed by how I felt in the moment, and yet we still get up and go, how do I feel? I love this passage because what happens is Simon looks at it and says, I have a higher authority, I have a higher calling, I have a higher thing in my world. I don't care how I feel, I'm gonna be performed by my faith. See, we're gonna put it like this. We want feelings. God, when you give me the right feelings, then I'll do what I'm supposed to do. God says, I'm not as interested in your feelings. I'm interested in your faith. And when you are faithful, your feelings will follow. Some of you here right now, you've got some one days and you keep waiting for your feelings to move you in the direction. I just promise you right now, hear me, it's my heart. I'm not trying to be negative with you. You just need to know your feelings will never take you to your day one. Your faithfulness will. Your feelings will never take you to a diet and losing 20 pounds. It will be your faithfulness. Your feelings will never give you a successful, happy marriage with your spouse. I don't care how you feel, because can we just be honest? There are days you wake up and you roll over and you're like, oh, darn it. Come on, let's be honest, right? Stop it. Acting like you don't feel that way. It's just sunshine and rainbows for me, Nick. Whatever. Anyway, no, marriage is hard. And there are days that you do not feel it. But if you have a higher calling, if you have a higher purpose, you get up and you look over there and you go, oh, man, dang it. I'm going to serve them. I'm going to love them. Why? Because my feelings follow my faithfulness. And when you faithfully serve somebody, I don't care how you feel about them, eventually you will grow to love them. You will grow to care for them. Forgiveness. Nick, I just don't feel like I can forgive them. I believe that. I believe you feel that way. But I also believe that feelings follow faithfulness. And so when you get up and you pray for somebody faithfully every single day, yeah, God, could you just be honest with God? I'll tell you some of my prayers. This is just honest. I have some people in the world, I'm like, God, I don't even like them, okay? Listen, if something happens, I'm not even going to sweat a tear, okay? But would you bless them? Would you take care of them? Would you uplift them? Would you somehow maybe even give me an opportunity to bless them? That's hard prayer. That's deep. That's not new. That's deep. When you can figure out how to love your enemies, that's deep. But the problem is we keep looking for new, we keep looking for our feelings, we keep looking for the wrong things in life. But I love what Simon says. God, I don't want to do that, but because you say so, I will. Let me just ask the question right now. What is it that you know you should be doing? What is it that you know you should adjust, that you need to go back to? What is it you know, is there a person you know you need to forgive or whatever? What is it in your world right now that you know you should do that God's calling you to, and yet you keep waiting for God to change your feelings? I promise you, it will never come. As long as you wait for your feelings, you will never get to your day one. Goes on. When they'd done so, when he went back, when he went deeper, when he allowed God to create some space in his world and do some incredible things. Look at this, I love this. When they had done so, they caught such a large amount of fish that their nets began to break. That it just overwhelmed them. And you read the passage, you go on the passage, and it says a little bit later that they invited their partners over. So James and John bust on the scene, and it says the boat started to sink. There's such a blessing. And I believe that's available to all of us. But what I want you to see is this, that everyone wants the supernatural. Most people don't want to create the space, though. Everybody wants a miracle. I have people walk up, Nick, could you pray for a miracle? I will. But are you going to walk towards one, though, too? I'll pray with you. I'll pray for you. But I'm probably going to pray for you to have the courage and strength to do what I know you need to do. I'm not going to just pray for a miracle. I'm going to pray for you to have the courage to do it. I'm going to pray for you to have the courage to go deep and walk back into it. I'm going to pray for you to have the courage to enter into some uncomfortable, awkward space, because there is where the blessing comes from. God is not a magic genie. He's a God that wants a relationship and a journey with you. And it starts with creating space to sit back in your world and go, God, I need you in this space. So, that said, I want to give you 4 categories where this looks like. I want to break it down practically for you. I want to give you 4 things. Number 1 is this. Man, I really believe this. I've been praying about this all week. There are some marriages in here that are busted and disgusted, okay? Broke, busted, and disgusted. That's what I meant to say, you know? They are messed up. They are broken. Maybe it's awesome on the outside, but inside, they are broken. I need you to do something for me. I just need you to trust me, maybe for the next week or 2, okay? I need you to go back. Don't look for new. Go back and start to serve them. Go back. If you have a spouse that you don't feel anything today, here's the deal. You go back. You figure out every day how you can ridiculously, abundantly serve them, regardless of your feelings. That will be hard. That will be deep. That will change the dynamic of your marriage, though. You need to go back. You need to go deep. Quit looking for new. Quit basing it on your feelings. Start to walk towards what God's called you to walk towards and be faithful in that. For some, in your family dynamics and friends, you've got a relationship that's broken and you need to forgive somebody. You need to let it go. And I talked about that a few moments ago, but you just need to do that. And you need to get up every single day. I'm just telling you. You should pray for them. I got certain people in my world, every time they pop into my mind, I'm like, God, you need to bless them. You need to just, I pray, God, it's hard, but could you just bless them? Now, if I see them, I might turn around and walk away from them, okay? So I'm not saying I'm going to interact with them. I'm like, nope, not doing that today. But anyway, but you need to pray for them. You do. And it'll be hard. It'll be painful. It'll be deep. But regardless of your feelings, some of you got some relationship dynamics you need to let go of. Number 2 is this, finances. I want to talk about this briefly, but I could tell story after story after story after story of my wife and I, of people around us, other stories of putting God and creating space in our finances for God. And we have not always had everything we wanted. Matter of fact, I can't think of a time we had everything we wanted, but we're good. God's been faithful to us. And some of you here today, you are struggling paycheck to paycheck. You are struggling to get ahead. You are struggling financially. And yet, if you're being really, really honest, you don't have the space of God in your finances. You're hoarding it all, and as if somehow you control it all, praying for God to bless you with more, all the while knowing that if he gave you more, you'd still be stingy with it to begin with. God will not bless what you hold on to. God will bless what you give away to other people and fill you up even more. That's his economy. That's how that works. That's why a stingy Christian is such an oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. If you really believe that God is God of everything and controls everything, listen, I'm not saying give it all away. Don't do that. But for some of you today, you need to create some space in your finances for God. You need to go home with your budget and go, okay, listen, I don't know what we can afford. I don't know what that looks like. We're going to start to give some away. And listen, if you think I'm saying it manipulatively, here, I say this all the time. Give it to some other church. There's zero issue with that. This has zero to do with our church. Give it to somebody else. I just believe it. And then when God blesses you later, 6 months later, because it will be like the boat. It won't be instant. You're gonna give some money away and your car is gonna break down, okay? Hopefully not. But anyway, like that's not very effective. But something's gonna happen, okay? But 6 months later, when it does work, then you can bring it back here, okay? But again, I just want to take away all your excuses. Some of you here today, you're stuck though. You've given God and you've got a spot that you're really, really comfortable with. I want to push some of you, though, financially, because God, I really believe he's like Jesus in the boat with Peter going, no, I need you to go deeper, though. Some of you here today, you're stuck in your walk with God financially, and I really do believe God's saying, listen, I need you to give sacrificially. I just need you to, I don't know where you're at, but that's where it's at. Third, future. Man, the amount of people that talk about their jobs and I wish I had a better job, wish I had a more paying job, all the while they're on Facebook, they're watching Netflix, they're going to movies, they're doing whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Here's what I believe. God honors those who honor him and take steps towards him. And you have a dream, but you also can walk towards your destiny. And as long as it's just a dream and you don't walk towards your destiny, God will never honor or bless that. And so some of you this week, creating space for God is putting down your phone and picking up a book, okay? Turning off, the TV has an off button. Some of you don't know that, but it has an off button. You go like, oh. And maybe taking an online class, going back to school. I don't know what it is, but start to invest in your future. Start to create some space for what God could do if you really pursued it. Last one is this, your faith. And some of you, this is your first time back in church in years. I want to encourage you. Would you just create some space and maybe just be here for the next 4 weeks as we wrap up this series? That's it. Just create some space in your schedule, 1 hour every week for the next several weeks. Just create some space and kind of see what God can do. You have no clue what's on the other end of God's blessing when you do that, when you create some space. For some of you, again, you're in that deeper category. You're in that more like you're coming every week. Here, I want to challenge you. I want to say something ridiculous for some people. Would you create some serious space in your schedule? Would you create some serious space and get up and spend 30 minutes a day just in prayer, reading, and meditation? I'm talking like serious time. I'm talking like deeper time. I'm talking like moments where you're just like present with God going, okay, God, what do I need to work on? Where do I need to go? What needs to happen? What about me? What about those 4 categories do I need to do? Would you just create some space? Here's what I believe, because I've been there. I believe as I talk about this and I talk about whether it is whatever your issue is, whatever your one day, someday, whatever it is your lost hope for some. There's some people out here and you're telling me, Nick, you understand. It's too late. You don't understand. I've got a record. It's too late. I've got a past. It's too late. I messed up in my marriage. It's too late. Or they messed up. It's too late. You don't understand what's happening. You don't know my world. It's too late. You don't understand my finances and how much debt I'm in. We'll never get ahead. We'll never get out of debt. We'll never do whatever. It's too late. I need you to hear me when I say this. And I hope you never forget this. For those of you who think it's too late, you are absolutely 100% correct. It's too late for you. Because as I was reading the story, and I love this part, where and when did Peter struggle? In the night. He struggled all night when it was late. And the whole night he was there and he was struggling and caught nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing. And then when does Jesus show up? At the dawn, at the next day, at the next moment. And with him came power and came light and came hope. And so for those of you who sit back and say, you don't understand, it's too late. I'm saying, yeah, you're right, it's too late. But it's the next day. It's not late, it's too late. And Jesus comes and he can change you. He can change your marriage. He can change your finances. He can change it all. But you need to quit dreaming and start walking into your destiny. You need to start creating space for a God who desperately wants to care for you, who desperately wants to pick you up, who desperately wants to bless you. But it only starts when you create space. You want your one day to become a day one? This is the first step. Leave here today and create some space for God. When that happens, I'm telling you, it was a one day for Simon Peter. And for those of you who don't know the story, he ended up becoming a disciple. He ended up starting the first church. He ended up writing books of the Bible. In so many ways, he changed massive parts of the world. And before that, he was just a fisherman. Some of you feel stuck because you feel like I'm just whatever. Your destiny is in front of you. Your future is in front of you. You just need to create some space. This church was not started out of like happy feelings and big faith. In fact, when we started this church, I've never shared this publicly, but it was in a place where I was very, very broken and didn't feel it. I was hurt. I was tired. I was exhausted. I didn't know what my next steps were. And I got to be really, really honest, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to be a pastor. So I created some space for God. I created some space, and just every day I would get up and go, okay, God, I need you to speak to me. I need you to speak to me. I need you to speak to me. And much like the story of Peter, nothing happened initially. I read, and I'm like, nothing. In fact, it was so bad that literally one day, I was mad at God. Maybe you've been more spiritual than me. You've never been mad at God. I was furious with God, actually, and my prayer life was not happy. It was frustrated, and I was like, God, I just need you to give me a sign. I just need you to tell me. Do you want me to come to Glasgow? Do you want me to go to Chicago? Do you want me to go to Illinois? Do you want me to go to Texas? Like, what do you, just make it clear. I'll do it. And I was mad. I did not have the feelings. Somebody had given me a book 3 years earlier. I'd never read it. That day, I was mad at God. On that one day, I want to tell you what I read. It's from a book, pretty popular book called Simple Church. Here's what I read. There are a lot of Emmanuel churches. There is probably one in your community. Some spell it with an E and some spell it with an I, and some are really proud of how they spell it. This is the story of Emmanuel Baptist Church in Glasgow, Kentucky. And I closed the book, and I put it down. And it broke me. Because I don't know about you, but I've read Chicago in books, and I've read Miami. I've never read Glasgow, Kentucky in a book, okay? Nothing wrong with this city. Love it, I'm here, okay? But it's not on the big reading list. And I called a friend of mine who was there at the time. I said, hey, because I'm reading this book and going, this is what I want to do. Does that stuff work? And he goes, oh, yeah, the church is great. It's a great church. That moment, hung up the phone. Just felt like God saying, Nick, you go back, but I need you to go deeper. I need you to take it even further. I need you to go back there, and I need you to flip that town upside down. You have a calling. You have a destiny. Go. And it was not birthed. This place was not birthed out of yes and yay, hoorah, and positive feelings. It was built out of a small group of people that were faithful, regardless of their feelings, regardless of new, that were going to come back and do something. And we sit here today. And it's so easy to look back and go, oh, it was hard. Some of you, I'm just telling you, I'm sharing that story for this reason. Some of you are stuck. You're stuck in negative patterns. You're stuck in a negative lifestyle. You're stuck in bad relationships. And there's a part of you that says, oh, one day it'd be great to find somebody who loves me to love one day. Whatever it is, if you can create some space and allow God to speak to you, and then have the faithfulness to move forward, you can move mountains. You can do whatever he calls you to do. You just need to be faithful. I don't know what your one day, someday is, but here's what I do know. I really do believe that here and maybe online, I don't know what it is, that for some of you, your one day is, one day I'm going to get right with God. One day I'm going to get right with God. One day, I'm not sure a whole deal, but you listen, one day down the road, one day, I'm telling you, that you're lying to yourself. Maybe there's some people watching online right now, and you're not even here because you're telling yourself the lie. One day I'll get to church. One day I'll get right with God. I'm just telling you, it's a lie. And this day you can go from one day I'm going to get right with God to day one. And you can walk out of here different. You can walk out of here changed. You can walk out of here saved, free, and at the same time, focused on something entirely different. None of this works. None of what we talked about makes sense outside of Jesus. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you that opportunity. I want everybody to just bow your heads. If you need to give your life to Christ, if you need to make that decision, if you've been trying to get it right and you've never gotten there, whatever, but you feel it right now. You can feel it in your heart. That's what that is. That's like God's Spirit calling you, kind of talking to you, kind of speaking to you. If you need to make that decision and let today be your day one, no more messing around, no more pretending, like you're going to walk out of here different and focused because you believe the best really is yet to come. I want you to pray this prayer. It's not a magic bullet. It's not anything special. The gospel says it's not really what we say, but it's our heart. But you can respond to this today. Let's pray. God, I give you my life. Forgive me of my sins. Make me new. I believe you died for me, Jesus. Rose again 3 days later. Today, my day one, I make you my Lord and Savior. Amen. All right, I need you all to look up here with me. If you prayed that prayer before you leave today, I want you to do us a favor. I want you to text no to 31996. We want to follow up with you. We want to do some stuff with you. But I want all of us. Would all of you pull out your next step card? It's in the front of you, or if you're in the front row, it's next to you. I want everybody to pull it out really quickly. There's a blue card, next step. We're going to do this together. Because here's what I believe. Everybody in here, you have a next step. You have something that God's going to, you have this thing, whether it's to go deeper and you're a Christian and to go next, or whether it's the initial step, I want to encourage you. Here's what I want you to do. If you gave your life to Christ, I want you to mark that. We'd love to follow up with you, plus through the text message. But for the rest of us, would you just check other? And would you write whatever your next step is, whatever God's calling you to do today? We would love to pray with you. We would love to support you. We believe that our church is a family. It's a movement. It's not a building. This is a tool. It's a nice tool, let's be honest, but it's a tool. That the power comes from the people, not the tools. And so would you write that down, and then as you leave, we're going to have some baskets out there. Would you just drop them in the basket? And again, you don't have to make it specific. If it's personal, you can just put an X there. We just loved it. We just love to pray for you specifically in this journey together. Man, I'm excited about what God's doing here. I'm excited about this day one, but as you walk out today, I want you to know this. This is not the finish line. It's a starting line. The best really is yet to come. And as we're faithful, as we make improvements, as we walk through it all, we are going to flip this town upside down. Would you all stand with me? I want to pray for you, and we're going to dismiss. God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for day ones. And thank you that during day ones, we have an opportunity to look forward to day twos and day threes and day 415s. Bless us as we leave. I pray that we would create space for you, that we would go deeper in our hearts and our minds, and that we would be who you've called us to be. We love you. We thank you so much for your grace and your mercy. Amen. Have an amazing week. God bless. We'll see you next Sunday.